What's going on, everyone? Joshua Jones here with GLHF MTG, coming back to you again with another Commander Deck Tech. This time on the face cam, and this time for 32 of 32, episode 17, the Esper episode. So, if you're wondering, which you may or may not be, if you missed 16 episodes, you did not. I recorded the number one episode colorless, and I was going to go on a nice little order there. But I decided after recording that I wanted to jump into Esper because this new commander came out for C18, and I really just wanted to do a deck tech on that and was kind of looking for a way to fit it into the schedule and didn't have one. So I decided to just kind of Tarantino, TM this whole thing around and do episode 17 first of the 32 of 32 series. So what this is in this series, we're going to be going through all 32 color combinations in Magic. So that way it gives us at least once a month where we can experience a different color combination, a different flavor. Sometimes I'll get stuck on this thing where I want to do like Bant or like Simic or something like that. Maybe a Gruul deck, and I'll run them on for about a month long where I'll do deck techs, and they're pretty much kind of like the same variant of deck techs. So this way it gives us an opportunity to always experience something new at least once a month anyway. So 32 of 32, all 32 combinations, and this week it's Esper, and this week it's Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign, Odd on top tribal. So what a way to go tribal with it. This is a combo deck running the C18 Commander Yennett, which is a legendary creature, Sphinx for 3 power and 5 toughness at the cost of Esper 2. You get Flying Vigilance Menace, so super difficult to block. And whenever Yennett attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If that card's converted mana cost is odd, you may cast it without paying its mana cost, otherwise draw a card. So the otherwise draw a card part, not really relevant, and I'll explain that in a second, but we should point out here that all the lands that you flip off the top, you can't cast those because they're lands. So the reason why you're not going to draw cards is, even though I am aware that you do not have to play all odd cards in this deck to make it work, we're playing all odd cards. 100% of the cards in this deck are odd, except for, again, the lands. So why not? Makes things a little bit tricky. Guarantees us that we're going to get something in this deck. We're setting up a lot of ways to make sure that we can know what we're going to get before it happens, using our main phase for that. So let's go ahead and jump into it here with the basics. The basics, I'm talking about ramp, I'm talking about removal, I'm talking about refilling your hand. And the reason why I talk about these basics is because if you're not playing competitive EDH, I think that these basics are important in all decks, period. They're going to help you be more well-rounded. They're going to help you be more focused. They're going to help you win more games if you just go ahead and auto-include 30 slots or so in there that are just about these basic foundations of any commander deck. You're going to be way more well-rounded and have a better playing experience, at least that's in my experience. So, and then you got your lands and then your commander, of course, you're pretty much only dealing with 30 cards. Let's jump into it. Since we're playing all odd cards, it makes it difficult. Like I said, we're running Period of the Pantheon. Normally I would want to run Fell Warstone or something like that in this slot, but can't do it. So anyways, what Pyramid does is if you're running a counter strategy, it lets you get these brick counters on, and if you have ways to manipulate counters, you can get them on quicker, and you get into a Gilded Lotus. That's what the end result is. But until we get to Gilded Lotus status, we're basically going to be filtering mana, which is kind of good because we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 drops, 11 drops, so on in this deck. So sometimes on turn 2, we only have a 1 mana play, and then we'll have 1 mana sitting around. Well, we just filter the mana into this thing and then have an advantage later on with it, and then Soul Ring. So next up we have Commander Sphere, Coalition Relic, Darksteel Ingot, and Chromatic Lantern. We're running 3 colors in this deck. Chromatic Lantern's worth the price tag because it helps us use our lands and however we need to use them. It doesn't matter what the land does. It taps for any color. It's a command tower now. We're good to go with that. And then, of course, Commander Sphere just as utility so we could draw a card later on. Ingot to prevent against board wipes, and then Coalition Relic to, like I said earlier, with the Pyramid of the Pantheon, just to dump the mana into when we get into those weird, odd situations, and then we could just use all that mana later on in the game. And then finally, we're running Wayfarer's Bauble and Burnished Heart just to get the lands that we need onto the battlefield. Slow Ring because we needed another one at the 3 drop, and then Gilded Lotus just for some great value there later on in the game. Let's move on and talk about the removal in this deck. So with the removal, we want to run a lot of utility removal that covers kind of all the bases, but we're split between sweepers and targeted removal like I tend to like to do. So we have creature or planeswalker at instant speed. That's great. We have negative X, which is also just great in this deck to be able to not care about indestructible and things like that. We move on to Vindicate for some permanents. Doesn't matter. Even though we lose this we lose the instant speed ability, Anguish Unmaking for those non-land troublesome permanents at instant speed, and then Path and Swords at the low end of the curve there. And then finally, we're running these sweepers because they have different utility added onto them. Like I said, Route you can run as an instant. Cleansing Novas, you can kind of have some choices there. Fumigate to gain a little bit of life back, also to help out with some plans later on in the combo package. And Hostilities to deal with anything that's troublesome that's attached to a permanent. They may be giving it Shroud or something. Get rid of it altogether when you destroy everything. And then we move on to the refill part. So on the refill part, because of our commander's ability helping us cheat on mana and also give us some card advantage, we can run cards that let us set that up. And Brainstorm and Ponder do just that. They draw us a card, and then we can put back on top in our main phase what we want to get with Yennett. Great value there. This deck is a blast. I'm actually tearing apart my Zur Esper cycling deck right now to put this together, just to for a good time. So Serum Vision's to draw and then scry something, and hopefully whatever we scry we're gonna get from with Yennett again. And then the 3 tutors here are just great because we could tutor up what we want, put it on top, cast it for free with Yennett. You see what we're doing there. Next up, we got Mystic and Ristic Study for some just value engine draws off some enchantments. Phyrexian Arena, sometimes we can get it down on 2 and start accruing that value on turn 3, which is great. And then Read the Bones, where we get a scry and then draw. Why not? So it's important to notice that when you scry and then you draw, you're always going to end up drawing into everything that you've seen, so you're not going to know what's left on top after you're done with the draws unless you put it back there with something else. So still a great way to just dig deeper. And then next up, we take a look at the top of the deck and the take turns. So top deck and take turns is what we're trying to do. And Mind's Dilation, if we cast it for free off Yennett, then it's all about the opponent's top deck, right? Why only care about our top deck? Why not care about their top deck? To be honest, I originally wanted to run Angel's Grace in this slot, but I found out that it doesn't work the way that I thought it does with Necropotence, which we'll see later on. And also, we can't run Omniscience because Omniscience is 10 mana. But hey, Mind's Dilation is still good flavor, and it cares about our opponent's top deck, so let's do it up. And then we have Temporal Trespass, because if it gets stuck in our hand, we can delve it and still take that extra turn. It kind of helps reduce that mana cost. It's important for a part of the combo that I want to talk about later as well. And then next up, we have the take turns. So the top deck. So with the Aquarius form, what's important to know about this card is that, one, in the event that your opponents have 2 flyers that can actually block your commander, this lets it get on an unblockable. But also, it's a trigger that when your commander attacks is when you get to reveal the top, and this is when your commander attacks, when the enchanted creature attacks, you get a scry 1. So you can always scry 1 first before your commander's ability, because you control the triggers. You get to decide how they stack, which is great because then you get a chance to get rid of a land, put it on the bottom, or go, oh yeah, this is the one I want, and flip it up. And there you go. Since it's Divining Top, I mean, do I really need to say anything about this card? I will, but basically you look at the top 3 and you get to decide on your main phase what you want. Same reason Crystal Ball's in here. It's important to note with Thassa, because it's on your upkeep, you'll never be able to know, because whatever you scry, you're going to draw that card for the turn. So it doesn't really come into play with Yennett, but it helps you dig further and further. And then also the unblockable on here is important. And then, like I said, we move on to the take turns. So when it comes down to the take turns, we're running at 3, 5, 7, and 9. The Miracle on Temporal Mastery probably doesn't come into effect on Yennett. I hadn't really thought of that much about it that much. I don't think it does, because you've already drawn a card for the turn and you're not drawing this. But you get to cast it for free off Yennett, so you don't care. And then we have a lot of scry in this thing, so you will know if it's on top. There you go. So we worked our way around to it there. But the main reason I'm running these is because they're at the 3, 5, 7, and 9 drop, and we want to take extra turns in this deck. The Savor the Moment, it doesn't matter that you don't get an untap, because our commander has Vigilance 1, and then 2, sometimes we just need to get to an extra turn to win, and we'll talk about that later in the Challenge Achievement Trophy section. And then we go on to counters and cannot. So we want to run some counters in this deck to help protect ourselves, especially because we can't run Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot Boots in this deck. So we want to be able to protect our commander. And then also, too, just because you're casting the spell, your opponents still have a chance to counter it. So you want to counter their counters, right? And then Blazing Acorn, Archon in this deck because we want to do like a little bit of pillow fort, not too much, but a little pillow fort. And then basically that's what we get into here with the cannot package. So with Propaganda, Ghostly Prison, Norn's Annex, and Sphere of Safety, they all do the same thing. Creatures can't attack you unless your opponent pays whatever amount of mana. In most cases it's 2, sometimes it's Phyrexian, sometimes it's dependent on how many enchantments you have at the time, but basically you see what we're doing here. And then the counters package, we're running Dissolve, Mystic Confluence, Spell Swindle, Disallow. So again, the 3 and 5 mana counter spells with some utility added in for the activated abilities. Some that give you treasures, which you could probably figure out what's coming into play with that later on. And the Mystic Confluence, because it's, like it's just utility, like, you have multiple choices. You could choose 3 different modes. Sometimes you can counter, so it's 6 mana. They can't pay it. Usually it's just a straight up counter and then draw a card. It's kind of like our whatever that one they play in Modern is that people are going to get upset with because I don't know the name of it right now. Something important in Modern. Anyways, and then Dissolve because you counter a spell and then you get a scry. So good value there as well. And then rounding out the win. So basically this whole section talks about rounding out the deck and then how we're going to win. So you see in Azor's Electors here just to get the 5 counters, and then on the upkeep, if you have the filibuster counters, you win the game. So alternate win conditions is kind of like what we're doing here. And then As Foretold, because it's basically our commander's ability, but depending on how many counters are on it, and then also we get to do that on all the other turns as well. So sometimes we have a lot of instant speed stuff, so we don't have to keep our mana up if this is on 1 or 3 or whatever it is to play a tutor, because we just get to play that tutor for free on each, whatever the other turns are as well. So it's kind of like a double up on our commander's ability, sort of. And so rounding it out, if we're going to be casting stuff for free, we got to play some Eldrazi, right? If we're casting stuff for free, play the Eldrazi. That's what they say. I'm creating new rhymes over here. Anyways, our Sin of Kozilek at 9 mana. It's a 10-9. I don't like our chances at playing these 9 mana spells in a regular game if we can't get them off our commander. But if you get this off your commander, it is a cast, so you will get the cast trigger. You get to bring something back to the battlefield, any target creature you want, and you get the Annihilator too. Void Winter over here, we're playing odd, and we're making our opponents not be able to play even. So you get on the odd bus, or you lose the game, basically, until they can deal with it, because a sword straight up gets rid of Void Winter. Who are we kidding, right? But that is odd, so at least they're on the odd bus. And then Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre, little hedge against milling out. So like if we're playing against any milling out strategies, basically they cannot beat us. And then the Annihilator Force gross is all get out. And then of course you're going to get the Destroy Target Permanent because it is a cast trigger. Emrakul, why not take somebody else's turn even if they get another one after that? And also sometimes if we get this stuck in our hands, we're running a lot of different card types, so we can get the cost down on this as well. And then just protection from instants and flying trample 13 in the air is a good way to close out the game, so round it out that way. And then moving on to the win, we're running Necropotence, Near Death, Revel in Riches, and Approach of the Second Sun. So Necropotence obviously works with Near Death to be able to pay the 1 life all the way down to 1 life to Near Death. We'll talk about that more in a second. Revel in Riches, to get the treasures, and then win that way, and Approach of the Second Sun to win that way. Basically, cards that say win the game on them, but hey, I'm a fan of those. Let's move on. Protection and basics and utility lands is what we're getting into next. So the protection slide starts us off here with Darksteel Plate and Whispersilk Cloak. Like I mentioned briefly, Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot can't be in the deck because of our forced rules upon ourselves to just be as odd as possible. And then you see here, just give our commander Indestructibles a little bit of, prevents from board wipes and stuff like that. Whispersilk Cloak in order to get an unblockable, and also just to get the Shroud. If you're going to put one on, put the Darksteel on first, because the Whispersilk doesn't allow you to put it on after. A little high-speed tech right there. Moving on to the basic lands, we're running 5 plains and 4 swamps in this deck, but we're also running Bojuka Bog, which taps for black, so essentially 5 swamps after you initially have it come and tap to get rid of a graveyard. And then 8 islands. Lands are coming in at 8 because it's a little heavy on the triple blue mana. But all in all, the little Dipple devotions are about spread even across this board, minus those triple costed spells that we have a little bit more of the blue on. As far as the utility lands go, we're just running lands that provide color, any color, and we're running Westville Abbey because we're playing black. I think I got in a little rant here in a couple weeks on another video that's pre-recorded about how if you're running black, why aren't you playing Westville Abbey? But I'm not a pro or anything either. So Magosi, the Water Veil, this card is just straight garbage. I don't like it, but in this deck you can kind of sneak it out because of the way that our curve's set up. So what I would recommend doing is just on one, you play this tapped, and then on turn 2, you activate it. You're going to end up short a land and like cutting yourself a couple turns, but by the time you activate it and you put that counter on there, it just looks like you maybe missed a land drop or something. It's really kind of, you might have to discard. It's a very weird situation, but your opponents don't tend to pay too much attention to it the first time around, so you can kind of sneak in an extra turn on them to win the game in this next portion, which is the Challenge Achievement Trophy. So your first Challenge Achievement Trophy, we're going to start off with just a regular challenge here. So what you're going to do is you're going to play Necropotence or Near Death using Yennett. So if you play them both without using Yennett, good on you, but basically you want to get these both down on the battlefield. Cast the other in the same turn. So play one with Yennett, cast the other, cast both if you need to. Pay down to 1 life with the Necropotence, and then use Magosi's land ability or any other take turn spells. It's probably going to be easiest with Magosi to get the near death win. That's your challenge. Let's check it out on the achievement. So your achievement's going to be to get an As Foretold to 7. So you're going to need to get that to 7 counters. So if you play this even on turn 2, you're going to need to be on turn 8 or 9 or whatever it is to get it to 7 counters. Use it to cast Approach for free. In the same turn, Mystical Tutor an Approach to the top of your deck, right? Then use Yennett to cast the Approach for the win. So basically, I mean that's quite an achievement, I think. So you essentially, I guess if Yennett's out, you really only need 1 blue mana open for this, huh? That's pretty dope. Next up, we have your trophies. So your trophy is going to be kind of difficult. So what you're going to do here is you're going to delve Temporal. So you cast Temporal Trespass by delving out 8 and just paying triple blue. You're going to take an extra turn after this one, but psych, you're not, because as soon as you pay the triple blue, you're going to pay 2 more blue and 3 to counter the spell with Spell Swindle while it's on the stack. That's going to give you 11 treasures. You're going to use those 11 treasures with Revel and Riches off of your commander's ability from the attack phase, and then savor the moment to go ahead and get the win. So you see what we did there? We played 3 blue for an extra turn spell, which we countered to get treasures, and then later on when we went to combat, those treasures come into effect because we have Revel on top. We play it, boom, extra turn. That's a kind of a crazy combo. Let me know if you get it. That's going to wrap it up this week with Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign of the 32 of 32 series, episode 17, the Esper's episode. You can check this deck out on MTG Goldfish as usual. I'll leave a link below in the box. It's 1255816. It's not cheap, about $350, maybe down to $325, depending on how you get your prices and if you can get the shipping and all that. But that'll wrap it up. So like the video, share, subscribe, hit the bell, comment. I'd really like you to leave a comment. 1, if you like the series, but 2, if you get any of the challenge achievement trophies, let me know, and let me know what you think about Odd Tribal. I'm Joshua Jones on the face cam this week for 32 of 32. Hey, good luck. Have fun.